My wife, 38F, and I, 40M, have been married for 15 years with 2 children, a 14-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old son. About a year and a half ago, my wife approached me and said she wanted to open our marriage. She felt bored with just the 2 of us and wanted to explore other experiences. I was very against the idea because I've always believed that marriage should be between 2 people, but she insisted that if we didn't open the marriage, she was ready to file for divorce. Given the pressure, I reluctantly agreed under several conditions. No one could be brought to our home. We wouldn't talk about our other partners. The kids and family wouldn't know. All partners had to be tested for STDs, and no mutual acquaintances were allowed as partners. Despite my reservations, I agreed because I didn't want our marriage to end. I suspected that my wife already had someone in mind, and my suspicions were confirmed when she went out the night after we made the agreement and didn't come home until 4 a.m. It was hard for me to accept, but I went along with it in the hope of saving our marriage. Last May, I met Amber, a divorced woman whose daughter is in the same marching band as ours. Amber has no interest in getting married again, but she does have needs, and 5 months after opening up our marriage, I started sleeping with her. Initially, it felt like cheating, but I eventually became more comfortable with the situation. It was a no-strings-attached relationship, and it was nice to have something that wasn't emotionally complicated. It also brought more passion into my marriage, and for a while, my wife and I seemed happier. Things changed when my wife's relationship with her outside partner ended in April, mainly because of the difficulties brought on by the pandemic lockdown. Her partner was in an open marriage, but his wife wasn't aware, so it became harder for him to sneak away. Meanwhile, my wife met Amber for the first time during a Zoom concert we helped organize for the band. Shortly after, my wife heard through some mutual friends that Amber was my outside partner, which violated our agreement that partners should not be people we both knew. My wife told me I needed to end things with Amber, but I refused because Amber and I didn't know each other before, and their meeting didn't technically break our rules. For a year, my wife had been fine with me having a partner, but now that she wasn't seeing anyone, she suddenly felt uncomfortable. She brought up her discomfort several times, insisting that I stop seeing Amber. Recently, my wife said she wanted to close the marriage again, claiming she no longer needed other partners and was happy with just me. I agreed to the idea on 2 conditions. First, the marriage had to remain permanently closed, with no chance of reopening it later. Second, I wanted her to sign a document waiving spousal support in the event of a divorce, except in mutually agreed-upon situations like infidelity. She exploded when I mentioned this, refusing to even consider the idea. She argued that I could continue seeing Amber and then leave her with nothing if she signed such a document. My wife is a stay-at-home mom and hasn't worked since we got married. I told her that the agreement could include protections against unfair treatment, but she still refused. She insisted I needed to stop seeing Amber immediately, or our marriage would be over. I reminded her that the open marriage was her idea, and that I only agreed to it to keep us together. But she accused me of being overly dramatic, saying that I needed to focus on us, and that I was jeopardizing our marriage by clinging to Amber. At this point, I'm torn. I know Amber and I don't have a future, as we've both agreed it's a purely physical relationship. But I feel like I'm standing my ground because this is about more than just her. I'm not willing to be threatened with divorce every time my wife changes her mind. After thinking it over, I decided to dig deeper into the situation. I called Amber and asked her who she told about our relationship, but she denied sharing anything, and I believed her. I then looked at my wife's Google location history and discovered that she had been tracking me to Amber's house. My wife followed me and deliberately introduced herself to Amber to stir up trouble and force me to end things with her. This revelation has left me feeling betrayed. My wife went out of her way to create conflict rather than openly addressing her concerns with me. I confronted her about stalking me, and at first, she denied it. But when I showed her the location history, she tried to shift the blame, accusing me of invading her privacy. I didn't let her deflect. Now, I'm at a crossroads. It feels like my wife is only focused on getting what she wants without taking responsibility for the situation she created. I agreed to an open marriage because I didn't want a divorce, but now that the tables have turned, she's trying to backtrack without any accountability. I'm left wondering if our marriage is even salvageable at this point, and whether I should agree to close things up without any assurances for the future. The most frustrating part is that this was her idea from the start, and I'm being made to feel like the bad guy for sticking to the rules we both agreed on. If she's unwilling to discuss or compromise, how can I trust that we won't end up in the same situation again a few years down the line? She confessed that she was deeply unhappy with the fact that I had someone else in my life while she didn't, and she found it unsettling that I had become involved with a mom from the school. I agreed to end things with Amber if she would agree to counseling, close our marriage permanently, and start looking for a job to contribute to household expenses. She responded by saying that she was a stay-at-home mom and suggested that this issue could be revisited after the coronavirus situation improved. I told her that once things returned to normal, she couldn't simply remain at home without contributing to the household finances. We attended a few therapy sessions, which started positively. The therapist challenged her to examine why she felt the need to step outside the marriage and encouraged her to confront the issues affecting me. However, things took a turn for the worse when she admitted that her external relationship was with an old high school boyfriend. They had reconnected after years, and she regretted not pursuing him further back in high school. She wanted to fulfill that old desire now. I was enraged. I told her that if my relationship with a mom from the school was too close to home for her, then her affair with a married ex-boyfriend was entirely unacceptable. I was so upset that I decided to check into a hotel to cool off, not wanting my children to witness my distress. I stayed there for a few days before deciding to return home and confront the situation with my marriage. Upon returning, I noticed that my 14-year-old daughter was unusually cold and dismissive toward me. When I asked her what was wrong, she lashed out, accusing me of cheating on her mother with a band mom. I asked her where she had heard this information. Initially, she refused to tell me, but eventually admitted that her mother had informed her that I was staying at my girlfriend's house. I showed her the hotel receipt on my phone to prove that I had been staying there, and explained that her mother and I had a fight, and I had taken some time away to calm down. My daughter was very emotional, and I reassured her of my love and commitment to her. I remained calm, despite feeling intense anger, and decided to contact the wife of the man my wife had been involved with. I informed her about the affair and offered to provide any evidence she needed. She appreciated the information, as she had suspected something was wrong. Later that day, my wife confronted me angrily, accusing me of breaching the confidentiality of our therapy sessions and ruining the man's life. I asked her what she had intended to achieve by telling our daughter that I had a girlfriend. She denied telling her anything beyond that I was away for a few days and still refuses to admit any wrongdoing. Since then, we haven't spoken. We are scheduled for another counseling session tomorrow, but I am doubtful about its efficacy. I have caught my wife in numerous lies, and trust has been severely eroded. I know that filing for divorce might be the best course of action, but the thought of it makes me feel physically ill. I feel like a failure for not being able to make the marriage work, even though I am aware that this might be the inevitable outcome. Sorry to hear that therapy has only uncovered more issues, and that your wife's dishonesty has shattered your trust. It's essential for the sake of your children that you address these issues. Even if it's painful, consulting an attorney is a necessary step. It will help you manage the situation more effectively, both for your sake and for your children's. You haven't failed just because the marriage is ending. Your wife's actions, including opening the relationship and planning to cheat, have led to this point. She has shown a pattern of deceit and manipulation, and it's unlikely that any therapy will resolve these fundamental issues. It's time to take care of yourself, get your finances in order, and prepare for a separation. Be honest with your daughter about what's happening. It's better she hears the truth rather than rumors and lies.